can see Trevor Williams on bike number 6. Marty Motes on bike number 10, one of the riders involved in that frightful spill halfway along the main straight in the original start of heat number 3. The unfortunate news is that Darryl Willoughby, the Toshiba Yamaha dealer team member on bike number 2, has been taken away from the circuit, and he is in the hands of the St John's Ambulance people, and it's not looking too good for Darryl at the moment, which is very bad luck for the Toshiba team. Coming round now to about the 3/4 lap mark of this third heat, and Ray Vandenberg comes up towards the stutter bumps for Australian Motorcycle News and holds the lead from number 3, Jeff Leask, in second place. Stephen Gall is going to have to do something about this flying young Victorian, because he looks as though he wants the Mr Motocross, and he can possibly do it. He's only 7 points behind Stephen Gall at the moment. Gall has 207 points after 2 heats in the grand final. Vandenberg has 200 points. Motes has 152. Leask has 136, Williams has 126, and Jim Ellis has 95. Unfortunately, Ellis is out of heats 3 and 4. He has sprained his ankle very badly and won't be participating again this afternoon, so very bad luck for the American. Haig now doing battle with the reigning champion Stephen Gall. There's Leask on bike number 3. This young fellow from Geelong is doing very well at the moment. A rider who concentrated early in his career on Western Centre Motocross in Victoria, came up through the mini bike and junior ranks, and has been working hard through from C to B grade, now into A grade, and doing battle with one of the top Australian motocross riders, Stephen Gall, but Gall gets the better of him on bike 1. So on towards the drop away. Gall now up into third place. Can he catch the flying Ray Vandenberg? He'd be giving him the best part of about 12 or 13 seconds at the moment, so it's going to be a pretty tough job. Coming up now to the first of the Swan Insurance loops. Round the left-hander, now back down again and into a right-hander, which has got an off-camber build-up of dirt on it. Very difficult to negotiate, as you can see, although the riders have now started to carve a bit of a groove into the circuit. Now the left-hander. A run down the back straight for Yamaha. Great idea of the suspension and the pounding that it takes on a modern motocross bike. Suzuki, like all of the major Japanese bikes now, sports a single shock absorber rear suspension. It's called a full floater system. It's a very large spring and gas charged and oil dampened unit just under the seat of the bike, right at the front of the swinging arm. The gas enables the shock absorber to stay cool over long periods of time, which it's doing at the moment, because quite obviously the bike handling superbly at the moment. Through the stutter bumps, and Stephen Gall is down. Stephen Gall, the reigning champion on bike number 1, is off the Yamaha, and this will mean that Ray Vandenberg, failing any dramas in this and the next heat, will be the Mr Motocross of 1983. Gall being attended to by the Motorcycle Racing Club of Victoria officials. No St John's people in the vicinity at the moment. The new third place rider in this third heat of the explosive Mr Motocross series this weekend, number 6 Trevor Williams for Team Kawasaki. Stephen Gall off the Yamaha and out of the event. So the order now sees Vandenberg leading Leask, then Williams in third position. And at the end of their last lap, New South Welshman Vaughan Style on Honda number 4 was in fourth placing. Well, it's a fairy tale story for Ray Vandenberg, because this is only his second year in Mr Motocross competition. We've already told you of some of the performances that he's put in so far in his motocross career, that this would be the biggie if he can get this one under his belt to snatch the motocross title away from the man who's held it for so many years. Stephen Gall is no mean feat, and at the age of 19, if I was Ray Vandenberg, I'd be a pretty proud young man. He's hoping in 84 and 85 to have a ride in America. Doesn't have any real great desire to go to Europe. America, where the dollars are, and all the heavies seem to be stationed there at the moment, so he wants to plunge himself right into the teeth of international competition. Whether he gets the opportunity or not remains to be seen, but if he can bag this Mr Motocross thing, which he probably will do, he must surely be able to open a few eyes overseas. Round the left hand of Swan Insurance on the back straight. That's exactly the spot where Stephen Gall came undone. Gall, incidentally, is back on his bike, and Ray Vandenberg just coming up behind him at the moment. Gall most likely will pull off to the side of the circuit on bike number 1. Up onto the second jump, and Vandenberg goes past Stephen Gall. who has now stopped just short of the jump on the main straight. Leask tucked right in behind. And Gall has decided to call it a race. He's called the Yamaha up. So the interest now centres on these two men here. 19 and 18 respectively, Vandenberg and Leask. Trevor Williams is now the best part of half a lap down in third place, and a similar gap back to Vaughan Style, who's a long way back. Great shot of Jeff Leask as he works hard now to close that gap between himself and Vandenberg. And I tell you what, he's just about a chance to do it at the moment too. Getting a little bit closer all the time. It was the Suzuki which showed amazing horsepower in the first two heats, but it's now the Honda that is either showing great power or the rider is showing great determination. It's got to be one or both. Toshiba Yamaha dealer team mechanics just stationed off to the right-hand side of the circuit down there as we were looking at it, and I wonder what sort of signals they were flashing at either Vandenberg or Leask. Bear in mind that Jeff Leask was with the Toshiba Yamaha dealer team in season 82. He finished third in the Mr. Motocross last year, riding for the Toshiba team. Went back to his old team this year, Honda, the team that gave him 2 Australian junior titles. Now, as they come around this time, they will get the blue flag for 1 lap to go, and that'll leave them with 1 more heat of the Mr. Motocross to follow. And a day's racing which has been torrid, I think is the word. Amazing day's motorsport. So 1 lap to go now for Ray Vandenberg. Vandenberg has cracked the whip once again and opened up the gap back to second place. So Jeff Leask, I think now, will have to be content with that second spot and a total of 24 points for that placing. And not only is Vandenberg looking down the barrel of the Mr. Motocross title, but also the round win, which will increase his prize money. $500 if he wins this round, and $4,000 if he takes out the series. There's the gap between first and second. Jeff Leask has, I would suggest, thrown in the towel and decided that he can't do anything about the young Victorian. So half a lap to go now for Ray Vandenberg. The man who cleaned them up here at round 1. Fell into trouble at the second round at Malala in South Australia. Had his worries at Tivoli with machine problems. Disqualified in 1 heat at Raymond Terrace. But 3 out of 3 so far for Jeff Leask in the grand final at Broadford. The added advantage of about 10,000 screaming Victorian motocross fans urging him on. Ray Vandenberg now with an opportunity to come up to the checkered flag and take his 3rd win out of 3 starts in this grand final of the Mr. Motocross. Has a glance over his left shoulder, over the first of the jumps, approach run now to the second jump. He's going to bag it. Checkered flag comes out, 30 points to Ray Vandenberg. Jeff Leask creeps over the finish line on bike number 3 for 2nd place. And a back wheel of the Honda is smashed to pieces. Jeffrey Leask's bike has literally fallen to pieces. There it goes. You may have just seen it from left to right. And all of the spokes in the back of the Honda have absolutely destroyed themselves. 3rd place goes to number 6, Trevor Williams. There he goes. Well, can you believe it? Marty Moate smashed a wheel. Have a look at the wheel on the Honda. Clyde Wolfenden at the back of the bike, the Honda team manager, quickly in attendance. They'll change that wheel pretty rapidly. You'd think it was a Castrol 6-hour stop. The winner of the 3rd heat, and it's 3 wins from 3 starts to number 9, Ray Vandenberg from Victoria. 2nd place with a broken rear wheel, Jeff Leask on Honda number 3, and 3rd place once again on bike number 6, Trevor Williams for Team Kawasaki. 10 seconds to go now before the start of the 2nd leg of the Yamaha 125cc Gold Cup. Just a handful of points separating these riders as they come to this grand final, and the gate drops, away they go. Craig Dack is one of the men to watch on bike number 2, so too number 5, Stuart Bennett. In fact, they're side by side as they go up to the end of the main straight. round the left-hander for Castrol, and it is number 5, Stuart Bennett, who has the lead from number 2, Craig Dack. The leader at the moment in the series as they go to this final heat is Glenn Bell. He only has 3 points clear of Stuart Bennett with 96 points. Bell has 99, incidentally. And third placing is Craig Dack with 76. These are the riders to watch. They're on bikes 5, 2 and 1, and they're in the lead at the moment. One rider on machine number 27 biting the dust pretty early on in the event, and that was Pat Beninka. Pat Beninka, in fact, the younger brother of Joseph Beninka, who drives an Alfa Romeo, and some motor racing enthusiasts may have seen his exploits at Amaru Park in an Alfa Sud. As we go back to our leaders, number 5, Stuart Bennett in the lead at the moment from Glenn Bell in second place, and third place Craig Dack. The numbers 5, 1 and 2. Honda leads Yamaha in second and third. "20 minutes plus 1 lap the journey for this race, so it's a pretty long and very tiring event for these riders. In fact, Stuart Bennett, one of the riders who did participate in the 4 heats of the Mr. Motocross as well, he was threatening that he wouldn't because he wanted to concentrate on this event. So bear in mind that Stuart's been out there for lap after lap after lap today. Bennett on bike number 5. Glenn Bell right behind him, 3 points clear of him in the series at the moment. And what is going to happen in this one? Bear in mind, once again, double points in operation for the Gold Cup. 30 for first, 24 for second, 20 for third. And look at Craig Dack through on the inside from third to first. What a move. Great stuff from the youngster. And the man on the Brian Collins 125 Yamaha has outboxed a lot of them. And as they come around to end lap number 1, the order sees number 2, Craig Dack leading from number 5, Stuart Bennett, and number 1, Glenn Bell drops back into third place. Well, you wouldn't have predicted that in a pink fit because Craig Dack was floundering back there in third place. I don't think that's a fair choice of words, but Craig was sitting back there in third place and he just went screeching through on the inside and has taken over the lead at the 1.5 lap mark as they squeeze down now towards Castrol TDS. Craig Dack, the winner of the first round here at Broadford back in May, where he had 2 wins from 2 starts. He also was the winner at round 4 at Raymond Terrace, and he was a pretty lucky winner there too because Stuart Bennett had chain trouble with the Honda, which put him out of the first heat and blew his point score to pieces. As they go down towards the Honda drop-off, Bennett now right behind Craig Dack. And if we could have choreographed this race, this is exactly what we would have wanted. Dack leading Bennett, leading Bell. And after a whole season of frantic 125 Gold Cup racing, these riders now come right down to the final race to decide the champion, just like the Mr. Motocross. Through the right-hander. Very, very hard part of the course, and it's so hard to explain just how difficult that is. Now up to the left-hander. A little bit easier for the riders here. You can see that Craig Dack rests one finger on the front brake lever as he comes down towards the braking area. Not using the clutch, constant mesh gearbox, he doesn't have to. Stuart Bennett, the winner of rounds 2 and 3. Glenn Bell finished second at round 2 and finished second at round 4. Up onto the main straight end of lap number 2. They've now started to space out just a little bit. Just recapping on the first heat of the 125 Yamaha Gold Cup. The winner, of course, number 1, Glenn Bell. Second was number 5, Stuart Bennett. Third on that occasion went to number 6, Darryl Kelly, because you'll remember that Craig Dack had trouble. And although Craig's not going to do anything about a round performance this weekend as far as points are concerned, he does have an opportunity to fight it out for the minor placing in the series. But the overall is going to be a battle between these two men, Bennett and Bell. Honda versus Yamaha, a classic Japanese factory motocross confrontation. And as I mentioned, just 3 points separating. Glenn Bell, amazingly enough, started his career in May of 1981, so in just a little over 2 years, he's progressed from being a backyard motocrosser to leading contender in the Gold Cup, which is one of the most prestigious events on the calendar. It's an opportunity for the younger riders to show their prowess to the sponsors and the thousands that have gathered here this weekend. All of them looking forward to picking up deals for season 84 and possibly have a ride in the Mr. Motocross. Here comes Caldecott. He's in third place, challenging for second. Coming up now, blue flag out for Glenn Bell. This is the scrap between second and third. We might just see the gaps here between Glenn Bell and Stuart Bennett. We're coming right up now to the top of the main straight. Right, there's the leader of bike number 1. Here's the gap. That's second place, number 5, Stu Bennett. Right behind him, Andrew Caldecott. You can forget the rest of them. They're not in the hunt at the moment because these two riders here are battling it out for the minors, and it looks to me as though you can just about put down the binocs because Glenn Bell is going to take out the Yamaha Gold Cup if he can just keep the Yamaha singing now in the last 3/4 of a lap. Bennett working very hard, but obviously a tired man at the end of a pretty heavy day's racing. You can just see the coil spring of the full floater single shock absorber rear suspension on the Suzuki as it came down through there very close to our vantage point. There's the leader. The Yamaha, a slightly different system. You can see the unit there, in fact, tucked in underneath the number plate. Yamaha, the first people to pioneer in the modern era of motorcycling anyway, monoshock bikes, back in about 1973 when they first unveiled their 250 in the World Motocross Championships and totally stunned everybody. Great shot of the workings of the Yamaha, a very slim gearbox, a functional sort of a machine. Gnarly looking foot pegs on the left and right hand side of the frame to try and keep the rider's feet on the pegs. You imagine when they get wet and slushy that it's pretty hard to maintain control. Look at the front wheel, pounding its way over the rough stuff. This is second and third still, no change between those two riders. Caldecott makes a bit of a charge, a hard spot to do it to, and I thought he was going to nail this slower rider. Through the left-hander. Checkered flag now being prepared. Glenn Bell will win the second leg of the Yamaha Gold Cup and in turn win the Gold Cup of '83. Great stuff from him. But what about the scrap for second and third? Here they come side by side, and Bennett just half a bike length ahead of Andrew Caldecott. Great stuff for the Yamaha Gold Cup conclusion of 1983. We're looking there at the man who may well take out the Mr. Motocross Series of 1983, Ray Vandenberg on bike number 9. Alongside him, Jeff Leask on 3, Stephen Gall further across to the left-hand side, and they get away cleanly for the final heat of the Mr. Motocross, and into the lead goes Trevor Williams for Kawasaki, and streaking up on the inside with a huge leap was Ray Vandenberg. How did he do it? But Motes through on the inside on bike number 10, and he's got him. Oh, unbelievable. Marty Motes has squeezed through on the inside on the Suzuki, so Motes leading from Vandenberg, but Vandenberg comes back once again. Williams up into third place, Gall into fourth, Adrian Haig into fifth, Jeff Leask behind them, and all of the front runners have got through relatively cleanly. Motes. Vandenberg drops back to third, now fourth because Gall has gone underneath him. Vaughan Style up on the outside of Jeff Leask, and Jeff Leask not looking confident at all. Up to the top of the hill now for the first time in this last 20-minute plus one lap journey. Williams almost threw the Kawasaki away. The back wanted to pass the front, and squeezing through on the inside now is Ray Vandenberg. So we've got Suzuki's first and second. American rider Marty Motes in the lead. Australian rider Ray Vandenberg in second place. Gall into fourth. Haig, Vaughan Style, Jeff Leask, Andrew Caldecott from South Australia, Robert Twirewald of South Australia, and the field looking considerably thin now, and Williams is down. Almost stalled Stephen Gall's bike on the way. Unbelievable traffic jam as they go through the right-hander. Caldecott gets through, so does Twirewald. The leaders have already gone down the back straight, coming into the braking area, and Motes leading the final heat from Vandenberg. Round towards the Australian Motorcycle News starter bumps. The overall point, and here comes Vandenberg through on the inside. He squeezes the Suzuki up. Can he do it? On the inside, side by side as they come onto the main straight. They're absolutely flying. Motes comes back once again. They're side by side. Unbelievable. Vandenberg on the inside, Motes on the outside. What's going to happen? Motes shuts the gate on him. The young Victorian forced back into second place. On the Army Reserve triple jumps, Vandenberg goes for the outside. Motes covers all the territory to make sure that he can't get through. They might be riding the same machine, but that means nothing when it comes to racing on the circuit. Vandenberg on the outside drops a couple of lengths back now from Motes because he'd be getting absolutely pounded by dirt and mud. Anybody who's ever had the opportunity to ride a motocross or enduro bike and has copped any sand or gravel or grit in the face or in the chest or in the shin for that matter from a motocross bike, you'll realise just how hard it must be for Vandenberg to be sitting so close to the back of Motes. You can see the rocks and the dirt flying from the back of the big 500cc Suzuki as they climb back up to the top of the Swan Insurance Hill. Winner of the 1980 US Grand Prix in the lead at the moment, Marty Motes. On the second of the right-handers at the top of the hill. Motes has pulled away his face guard by the look of it and gulping in fresh air. Or is it just a tag flowing in the background? It might just be one of his tear-offs, in fact. Andrew Caldecott and Adrian Haig in trouble at the top of the course on bikes 20 and 32. Haig decides to go back to the pit area. The enormous horsepower of these 500cc motocross bikes being unleashed in the main straight. Gall comes back through on the inside. He wants second place, and he gets it. And the crowd is rapt. There's still a few Yamaha fans here at the moment hoping to see Stephen Gall do better. Motes on bike 10, Gall on bike 1, Vandenberg on bike 9, first, second and third. See the plastic chest guard on the front of Ray Vandenberg. Flame-resistant nylon pants, an elasticized kidney belt. And Gall, after recovering from a spill in Heat 3, sets off after the leader. And that is the leader, Marty Motes. It wasn't the mouthguard which was flapping. In fact, Marty generally wraps himself up in an ice and water doused, for want of a better word, turban, and he soaks it all up and puts it on prior to the event. It soaks up all the sweat and it keeps him cool. End of lap number 4. And Marty Motes on bike 10, still being hotly pursued by Gall. And I tell you what, Gall's a real chance to win this heat. I've seen this style before. He gets crouched over the front of the bike and he puts everything he's got into it. He wants to prove to the big crowd here that he's not a spent force. Stephen Gall through the right hand and now within striking distance. 5 laps into the event, still plenty of time for Stephen Gall to do something about Marty Motes on bike number 10. He's all over the back of the Suzuki rider at the moment, and with a real opportunity here to go into the lead and try and consolidate his point score. I don't think he's going to be able to top Ray Vandenberg, but he desperately wants to do something about this last heat. Right into the rooster tail now of the Suzuki. Motes, Gall on the inside, under brakes, very hard spot to do it, and he stalls the Yamaha. Unbelievable luck for Stephen Gall, and it was such a difficult place to do it. Oh, Stephen Gall, what on earth was that for? It's a lot easier for me sitting here, of course, to say that it was a wasted effort, but Stephen really, on that occasion, possibly could have waited maybe another 100 yards down the back straight where there was more space to do it. Particularly difficult with the big capacity bikes to make sure that you don't run them too low in the revs. They plod along these things, but not that slowly. And the big 490 stalled. So Gall now around about 10 to 15 seconds. I'll try and get the watch on them. Behind Marty Motes. The gap, in fact, a little bit less than that. It's about 5.5 seconds. So a similar gap back to Ray Vandenberg for third place. Now can Stephen Gall narrow that gap down? A great scrap for the minors too, because Jeff Leask and Trevor Williams are really having a ding-dong battle at the top of the main straight. There's Motes, the leader. We might watch them as they come up to the top of the course here and go back through the minor placings. This is Motes, the leader, on bike number 10. All of these riders now starting to feel the pressure of having done 80 minutes plus 1 lap. Plus 4 laps, in fact. So it's the best part of around about 90 minutes of racing, an hour and a half, and that's unheard of in world motocross. That was the gap between second and third, Gall and Vandenberg. So Ray very much content to stay in that position at the moment. There's Williams, and by gee, Trevor Williams is really moving along at the moment. He's broken right away from Jeff Leask. It was a fairly calm and cool Marty Motes who approached this grand final round. And it was a surprisingly cool Ray Vandenberg who came to the grand final. I thought that at only 19 and looking down the gun barrel of the Mr. Motocross win that Ray Vandenberg might have been a little bit perturbed with the pressure that was on his shoulders. But he stood down at the starting line and said, oh no, she'll be right. The bike's looking pretty good and I like the track. We've been doing some practice here. I think I can do well. And to say that he's doing well is an understatement. 3 wins from three starts, and in this 4th start it looks like he's going to pick up a 3rd placing. He's got about a quarter of a lap deficit now on Stephen Gore. But although he is a quarter of a lap down on Stephen Gore, he is the likely successor to the Mr. Motocross crown in 1983. $4,000 in prize money coming his way. $500 for the round win because he's going to pick up the win here at Broadford as well. So a cool $4,500 for Ray Vandenberg at the end of a pretty tough day's work. Continues to circulate now, and that's about all he's doing. He's not gassing up the Suzuki at all. We just got a flash there of the green colours of Trevor Williams, who's back in 4th place. In fact, if Ray buttons off too much, he's going to have Trevor Williams breathing all over the back of him, and that won't help his point standing. So he'll have to be aware of the fact that Trevor's there. There he is, and there's our leader, number 10, Marty Motes. He's just coming up to the left-hander, about to make his run down the back straight. Brilliant motocross career for Marty Motes, and although it's now in its twilight section, he's still managing to do some marvellous things for the Australian motocrossing public. Been treated this year to a Mr. Motocross that's been a little special by comparison to years gone by, with the inclusion of the 2 American riders. The blue flag now comes out. There's 1 lap to go for Marty Motes. 1 lap before he takes out the final heat, and 1 lap before Ray Vandenberg is crowned Mr. Motocross of 1983. Motes' career has spanned some 12 years and taking him to 23 countries around the world. He's ridden all types of machinery, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha. He also did a spell with Ossa, one of the Spanish factories, also the Swedish factory Husqvarna. He's come to Australia a couple of times to do the Supercross events and then come here this year to stay here for the entire motocross season. Been up and down the coast so many times that it must just about get thoroughly boring for the riders. And taking a look at his performances so far this year, Motes was the winner at Malabar in round 2. Picked up a win at the Newcastle Supercross midway through the season. Finished 2nd at the King of the Cross in Western Australia. 2nd of Born Style, who took home a great lump of gold that weekend, $3,000 worth in fact. And we've already spoken of his performances so far in the Mr. Motocross. We're looking there at number 19, that's Robin Rhodes, one of the riders who came unstuck earlier in the day, Victorian rider who's been to the States, and they're looking to work his way into the heavies in Australian motocross and doing a very good job of it at the moment. And that's Stephen Gore, who's 2nd at this point. So about a quarter of a lap to go now for Marty Motes. Stephen Gore will finish in 2nd place in this final heat and will finish in 2nd place in the series. And what a marvellous performance it's been from the master. A bit of a shame that he fell in that 3rd heat, but the odds are against you doing it 5 times. The checkered flag comes out. Marty Motes will be the winner of heat number 4 of Castrol's Kiss Mr. Motocross. 2nd place goes to number 1, Stephen Gore. We stand by now for 3rd place, and there's going to be a big cheer for this one because Ray Vandenberg and one of the riders has come unstuck in the closing stages. Now Vandenberg coming through the stutter bumps now. And up towards the checkered flag. Here's Vandenberg. The crowd will erupt when they see him come across the line. He's being pumped by everybody around the course at the moment. The crew ecstatic. And number 9, Ray Vandenberg, picks up 3rd place. Vandenberg acknowledges the crowd, the huge crowd here at Broadford, the newly crowned Mr. Motocross of 1983, and the first man to congratulate him, Stephen Gore, the reigning champion. Trevor Williams moves in on the Team Kawasaki machine and congratulates, and so too does Jeffrey Leask, and that's a mark of the professionalism and the friendship of these top motocross riders. And behind him there, one of the organisers of this meeting this weekend, Mel Jones from the Motorcycle Racing Club of Victoria. So tremendous stuff from Ray Vandenberg, third place in the final heat and crowned the Mr. Motocross of 1983. The champion of the Mr. Motocross of 1983, Ray Vandenberg. A garland and a kiss from Robin and a cheque for $4,000 in outright prize money.
And another cheque for $1,000 from Castrol.